Hi guys, welcome to the week that was for the last 2 weeks. I'm a little bit behind. We've been just slammed lately, and it's for different reasons actually. It's sick animals, it's scared animals, it's a lot of investigations. Tani was on holidays, Leanne's on holidays. It's just been really flat out busy actually. So anyway, you would have seen yesterday that we did our Sunday Singers.
Today's Tuesday, dude.
Oh, today's Tuesday.
So it was the day before yesterday.
Oh God, I've lost a day.
Yep. So a couple of days ago we did.
A couple of
Sunday
days
Singers.
ago we did Sunday Singers.
And then we promised you an update and everything, and that didn't happen.
Look, Janine and I actually did film an update on Smiley/Happy Jack, but I cannot get it to load. I've tried to send it to Tani, I've tried to email it, I've tried to send it by mail drop. Nothing was working. So I said to Tani, let's just redo it. So anyway, let's get into it. So let's talk about Happy Jack. So for those that have been following, Happy Jack came in when he first came in. We thought, oh, is this a hermaphrodite, because he had a shaft and he had some things hanging out. We thought, oh, this is a bit weird. And so we took him over to our vets, and they said, no, he's not a hermaphrodite. He's suffering from a condition called hyperspadia. Now, hyperspadia is when things don't form properly. In his case, the shaft was hanging out. It wasn't in a sac or anything like that. And so we took him over to lawn vets, and Brett said, yeah, definitely hyperspadia. We should be able to fix that for you, no problem. And so we raised some money for that. We asked for $1,700, and we actually raised, I think it was about $2,400. So that was really great. That was an extra $700. And I suppose when you do put a plight out, you're always sort of, yes, you want to meet that goal, but it's like anything when you're dealing with kids or pets or animals of any type. There's always something goes wrong. You're always rushing back to a vet or a doctor or something like that, and that's usually what happens. So it's great to always have that little bit of a buffer zone there. And plus, any funds that we do raise above and beyond, we actually do put to other causes. I think someone commented and said, oh, what happens to the extra money if you raise more? It always goes in other avenues, doesn't it, darling?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that people don't realise. We get people come to us all the time. They want to actually get rid of their dog because they can't keep it in. They don't know what to do. And we say to them, look, have you tried desexing the animal? We can't afford to desex the animal. What about extending your fences? Can't afford to do that. So we're always putting our hands in our pockets to help somebody keep their animals, because in my mind, and it's always been what drives me behind with the Freedom Busters, is that it's easier to keep an animal in their own home these days than to find new homes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard.
It's really hard. Many years ago, it wasn't as hard, but it's really struggles now to find rescues that have got available space, people that can actually have an animal with their rentals, people who can actually afford to look after an animal these days. So my mind is, let's try and just keep these animals where they're loved and wanted by trying to come up with some solutions. So, it's not uncommon for us to be giving out food, flea and worming. We see animals come into the pound and they're riddled with fleas, We just treat them. It's not the animal's fault. We want them to be comfortable. We're giving out building materials. Recently, Don said to me, Dee, what happened to all that wood that I bought?
Oh, she found it, did she?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
Did
you say, I don't know. Did you do the plan?
No, I
You
caved.
caved.
So what happened was, John said to me, where's all that wood, Dee? I want to do something with it. And I said, it's not there. Where have you put it? I said to him, it's gone. Don said, gone where? I said, I gave it to the shepherd's owners. Don said, we bought that wood deed. It cost us hundreds of dollars. I said, yes, but as a result, 3 shepherds have gone home by extending their fence with the wood that we bought for a project here. So I did say to Tani, I'm going to get into trouble for this one. And anyway, and that's what happens. So now we've got to go buy more wood to satisfy the next project. However, I look at it this way. We did a good deed. 3 dogs are home. Okay, now I've got to buy some more wood. So that's what usually happens with the money and stuff like that. You know, we've got a cat at the moment that the woman has made a vet cry and upset the staff very much. The cat is a stray that she's been feeding for 18 months. She thought it was desexed. Lo and behold, it got pregnant and had 1 kitten, believe it or not, 1 kitten. And so she wanted to desex the cat, and the vet's quoted for $400, $500 or something like that. So the woman just was going to euthanize it because she's an old farm girl, and they used to euthanize their own animals. And anyway, the vets rang me all, Dee, can you help? What can we do? And stuff like that. So anyway, out I go, track her down, go and talk to her and say, look, you can't be doing that. And she is moving into assisted living, into a nursing home, I think it is. And so anyway, we're going to be taking the kitten and the mum cat, but for the time being, she's not going in for care for about 6 months. So we are going to desex the cat this week so that it doesn't die. It stays there until I've got the available kennel space. She does love this cat, and that's quite often that is one of the things that is thrown at us all the time, and it for a reaction. Do I think she's going to kill the cat? No, I don't. If I did, I would have wrestled her to the ground and got the cat and the kitten in my car. No. The cats are well fed. They're little plump little things. She calls them, the cats come to her, come running actually. So, you know, she's not mean to those cats at all. Is it a blackmail thing? Absolutely. But what's my solution? Can I 100% take that chance? Absolutely not. So we're desexing the cat this week.
So don't forget to tell them. So you're talking about other things that we do with people's donations. Are you going to give them an update on Jack to say that we actually had to use that extra money for him when he had to go back in, when he was raced back in?
Oh, yeah. So anyway, getting back to...
It's been a while, guys.
I'll get back on to point. So anyway, Smiley went in to have the surgery on the Thursday, and immediately we started to have some issues with uncontrolled bleeding, even from the moment we got him back here. And thankfully for us, there was a doctor at the facility at the time, and we were able to stem the bleeding. We put a cone on straight away, made sure, because we thought, has he been picking at the wound on the way back? It has been quite dicey with Happy. We've had a lot of bleeding. So basically Happy's had to have 24-hour monitoring. So I have been here non-stop. There's many times where the bleeding was really bad, and I've been grabbing face washes, holding it, stemming the bleeding, getting another one, trying to clean all the blood up and everything. Yes, we've rushed Happy back. And the most recent one was a lot of blood. It was just everywhere, and we were like panicking. So we put Happy into the van, and Brioni rushed Happy back to the vets. And what it was that it had a when they did the surgery, Happy had a very large vascular bed, and so they had a lot of uncontrolled bleeding when they were doing surgery, and a clot had formed, which then was able to assist with stopping the bleeding. What we found that if Happy came out of the kennel, went into an exercise run for the required time out of a kennel, that's when the bleeding started. Any movement started uncontrolled bleeding. So we had to actually restrict Happy to a very small area. We had to actually give Happy medication to almost put her into like a semi-coma type situation, just calm her right down and comatose her so that she couldn't move. We couldn't risk that blood clot bursting and her bleeding out. So, and what we found was when she was rushed back, her blood pressure was extremely high. So everything, we had to then put her onto meds to bring her blood pressure down. Now, Martin we ended up swapping from one vet to another because Martin is very well known in the rescue world for tackling those high-risk surgeries or surgeries that you would normally have to take to SASH and pay $20,000-$30,000. I think most of our farm followers would actually resonate that Happy was actually what Rover went through. Now, Rover was hermaphrodite, and so it was a little bit different. He had both parts, so it was easy to choose the dominating part and turn him into that sex. With Smiley didn't have ovaries or anything like that. We had to actually determine which one was the one that was going to be the best for Smiley. In regards to Smiley, the logical thing would have been to turn him in, to keep him as a boy, because he had the shaft, he had the testicles, he didn't have the ovaries. However, when Dawn was cleaning out the exercise run, she actually, for the first time, actually saw how Smiley peed, and that was coming out from underneath the tail, straight out through like the back end. The shaft didn't work. There was no hole in the shaft. If the shaft had worked, it should have been coming down through the legs or hitting the ground. That's when we discovered that the shaft, or Martin discovered that the shaft didn't even have a hole. So we took Martin's advice, and we realised that we had to amputate the penis and the testicles and do some U-Butte magic to keep her as a girl. And funny enough, we had somebody come to the facility and they actually recognised Happy from somebody and said that dog's name is actually Brittany. So the actual owner did know at some point that that dog was meant to be a girl and had the name of Brittany. So it's really annoying that they knew that this dog needed surgery, knew that the dog was in pain, knew that it needed to be fixed, and nothing was done except hand the dog over, rough handled the dog, hand it to a ranger, abused the ranger when it was asked questions, had no name apparently, left by somebody with a phone number they gave us that didn't even belong to that person, wasn't even the owner. We've done the investigations. It's just frustrating that people treat their animals so appallingly. Now that little girl has got a new start because of you amazing people. Now, we knew that once we saw that dog peeing from the back end, it was going to be expensive. We knew that. We were like, oh God. And we put up another plea. We went, you know what, we think we're going to need $5,000. And thank God we did, because it did blow out, because emergencies happen. Always happens. So we did raise over our expected thing. I think when I looked at it, I did have the piece of paper when Janine and I did the video. I think it was about 8,500. No, it might have been a bit more, sorry. But we ended up sending $8,700 to our vets, and it cleared the vet bill. We are very grateful, and any excess money has gone for emergencies and other plights. So, but we couldn't do it without you. I mean, there's no way that dog was going to get a second chance if you guys hadn't have got behind us. And that's what we're all about, is fighting for these animals. Now, we've got some tremendous news coming up in regards to Smiley, but that should be next week's, and that's going to be in the week that was next week.
And we'll actually do it on time this time.
Well, Tani's back.
Now that I'm back, we'll do it on time.
She's gonna nag me. Let's just face it. Don't get me wrong. Janine nagged me. Don't you worry. Janine did nag me. She's a very good nagger. But we did have problems. So Tani's got this filming on her phone, and she's got U-Butte internet at home. She works it out. I gave up. Janine and I just gave up. We were like, we just can't get it to load up. It's just being ridiculous. We have very poor service here, don't we?
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, it's quite common for people to transfer money to have to go up outside the premises and stand up on near the main gate to get the internet working. So anyway, that is the update for Smiley.
Hi, buddy. Good boy. Come on. Come on, Happy. Come on. Good boy. Come on. Good boy. Come on, Happy. Morning. Oh, okay. Come on, Happy. Smiley, whatever your name is. Stop.
Someone hasn't got a coat no more.
Hello.
Hi, baby. Welcome back.
Actually, good testing.
I was just thinking that when I saw you was out with him.
Hiya. Look at you all healed up. Hi, baby. How are you?
There's a lot of worry. a lot of heartache and stress there.
Hey, you good boy.
He's like, I never want to see that thing again.
No, that's fair. Welcome back, bud.
Oh, baby.
So, you know, I always find that in this job, it is a job that causes us more heartache than any other job that I've ever done. I'm in my mid-50s, and I would say this job is my hardest job out of everything that I've ever done. It's emotionally draining, it's very stressful, and you actually do suffer a lot of heartache. And I think you could agree with that, don't you, Tony?
100%, yeah.
You know, there's not probably a week that goes by that a staff member or myself haven't cried over a situation or an animal. And I know that people are sitting there thinking, you bunch of pussies, but we're dealing with real live animals and real nasty or emotional or sad people. And in this job, you must have compassion. You must be able to hold your own. There are people out there that will tell you, I am a bitch. No, I will be a bitch to people that want to abuse their animal, they want to hurt their animal, they want to hurt one of my staff members. Mama Bear comes out, and it's Mama Bear for the staff, it's Mama Bear for these animals, because at the end of the day, they need a voice, and it's going to be mine, and it's going to be my staff. Anybody that works for me has to have that same passion. If they don't, they're no good to me, because they've already been let down. I have an animal in the office here now that is very, very shut down. I am keeping him with me as much as I can. I'm the only person that can get near him and kiss and cuddle him and hold him at the moment. I can barely get him to eat. I've cooked him sausages, frankfurts. I went down to Costco to get barbecue chicken. I'm struggling to get him to eat. He's on medication because he came in with massive wounds on the side of him that were infected. And putting tablets in his food doesn't work, he just doesn't eat. So the only thing for me left is to put the tablets in his mouth. Bit hard when a dog's growling and carrying on and scared and the tail's between the leg and he shakes. Anybody that goes near this dog, he's got shaking. We've got videos.
He's trembling.
He trembles. Pete tries to sit at the doorway to talk to him. He's growling. Brioni's come back from her days off and Don said, look, he's got to have his tablets down his throat. And she said, great, I'm going to get bitten twice today, because we've got to deal with two animals that are very, very shut down. I can do it. I give him his meds straight down his throat, but I've had to work very hard. I've had to spend a lot of hours with this boy, you know, but he deserves a chance. And that's pretty much a lot about all the animals that come in. One of the things that really upsets me is knowing that I can't save every animal. I get tagged day in, day out, and people call me. People ring up here because somebody on Facebook told them that I will save their animal, I will do this, I can pull an animal from a backyard, don't worry, deal, do it, you know. We've got huge demands running this place. We are 25 kennels that service 3 councils. I have 6 bays, Maitland has 6 bays, Cessnock has 6 bays, and we have a communal dangerous dog run.
Dungog has 6 as well.
And Dungog's got 6. That's it. That's our 25. So my 6 bays are always full. You saw it. We've had Scooby and Kevin here forever and a day. You know, Smiley is a long-termer because of the surgery and stuff like that. We've had a lot of shut down dogs, and this boy is a long-time dog. You know, I can't fix him overnight. And so my kennels don't move very often, do they?
No.
No. We sit there and look at the board and think, okay, they're coming up out of their 28 days. That's what's in my contract. Impounding is 7 and 14 days. But I can only use my kennels for 28. I can reapply for an extension of another 28 days. And I had to do that with some dogs. Barney and Loki had to do it. Which means, you know, it's hard. Animals are coming in. What also causes me a lot of heartache and a lot of sleepless nights is people that dump their animals because they're not coming. Now I've got Bruce the Roddy, who's coming up to day 14 in 2 days. I have no solution for Bruce. I've got Yubi, a big band dog. Big. No solution for Yubi at this minute. I've got Chuckles. No solution for Chuckles. I've got Whiskey. I've got somebody that wants to adopt Whiskey. I've got Maisie. I've got Monty, a little elderly dog, which we do have a solution for Monty. I had nothing for Kevin and Scooby for 90 days. 90 days. I was in breach of my contract.
And if you're in breach of the contract, we don't get the 6 bays because we've got nothing then.
Yeah. So what happens is last week I sat at the shopping centre. Had a coffee in hand and I just sat in the middle of the shopping centre. People were looking at me because, I just sat there. And I suppose, you can tell somebody's deep in thought. You can tell that they've got something going on. And 2 ladies looked at me and they're like, "Are you all right, love?" I said, "I'm not at the moment." And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I've got all these dogs coming out of impound. I've got no solution for them. Now, if I've got no solution, which means I've put out the plight to rescues, and I did. Janine did that. I've got no kennel space in my 6. They become the property of council. Now, if we start filling up, and God, did we not have a busy day on Sunday with strays?
Yeah.
We cannot get those animals home and we fill up. Who do you think pays the price? The animals. We are a parent. We have to function for stray dogs coming in. But people who are selfish or have emergency situations, they use this facility at the drop of a hat. And I sit there and I lose sleep. I said to the girls the other day, we need to do a video for Scooby and Kevin, Let's get some music. And I sat there and I thought, okay, let's do a video and, Dip It. We were going to do a video for Dip It before he got adopted. And I said, let's do the song You Are Beautiful by James Blunt, because he is a beautiful natured dog. The Greys. The song that I picked for them was Patsy Cline, Crazy. Beautiful Crazy, And I sit there and I'm panicking and I'm thinking, how can I be better? What can I do more? Why can't I get this? Am I the right person for this job? All this goes through my mind. And I network and I network and I network and I think, what more can I do? We're doing Freedom Busters to get dogs home. We're helping people keep their animals in their homes by putting our hands in the pocket, and we can't afford that. We can't. We don't have enough rescue warriors to have a set income coming in to be able to do everything. But here I am sitting at a shopping centre wondering how I can save 5 animals that are coming up that I don't have kennel space for. It's bloody hard. And then you get people that make the idle threats to us. They're going to kill their own animal. Now last week, I had 3 vets ring me. 3 vets. 3 different vets. So one of them rang me and said, we've got a gentleman here to put his animal down. It's 10 years old. His landlord has found out that he's had this cat for 10 years. It was his wife's 12 years ago. She died 2 years ago. And they've never seen the cat there. But this time he got caught with the cat. And he was told that the cat had to go. Now, we explained to them, you've got rights now. The laws have changed. But you know what? He said, sure, I do have rights. He said, but what's going to happen? He said, they're going to say the house is being sold, or they're going to renovate and they need me to leave, or we're not going to. He said, they're not going to say straight out, get out because of the cat. He said it'll be another reason.
Yeah. And it's true. It's easy for people to say, "Oh, you've got rights and you're allowed to have animals now." It's like, yeah, but they can just
find another way. They
Yeah.
find another way.
Yeah.
We saw that with a dog that was dumped here as a stray. The landlord told the tenant that they were renovating and that they had to move out. They'd been there for 8 years. Do you know what happened? They were renovating. They were renovating a unit that their family member lived in, and they put their family member and these people and kicked him out with the dog. And they couldn't find anywhere for the dog to go. It's really hard times out there. So anyway, back to the vet. They called me. They said, what do we do? The vet doesn't want to do it, but what do we do? I said, all right, I'll come down. So I got in my car immediately, went down. And I entered this room, and there was a very, very elderly man. And he was just looking at his cat through the carrier. He was talking to the cat. And I sat down and I talked to him, and he told me his wife passed. And it's the last link to his wife. And that he didn't want to do this, but he didn't know what to do. He had no family, he had no friends that he could rely on to help. And the word S came up on my forehead. S for sucker. S because it was the right thing to do. And I always talk about, I will always try and do the right thing rather than the easy thing. So I said to that man, I said, I'm going to take your 10-year-old cat. And he started crying, which of course made me cry. So I went out, got him a tissue, and I said to the vets, you're blocked. Your numbers are blocked. So Psycho came in. And we were going to do a big story about Psycho.
Psycho by name only.
Psycho by
He
name.
was beautiful.
He was the most beautiful, and he is. Don't worry, I haven't killed him. Big, giant, black, fluffy cat, most calm. And I said to the guy, I said, why is he called Psycho? And he said, that's what my wife called him when she adopted him from the RSPCA 12 years ago, 12 years ago. He was a psycho kitten. He said, it's not like that. And the girl said, do we change his name? And I said, it's the only name he knows. So anyway, I reached out to rescue, and Psycho has gone to rescue because Fiona from 9 Lives is also an S on her forehead.
I was going to say, she's also telling you that you're blocked as well. You're telling the vets and she's telling you.
She won't block me.
No.
She actually offered, when I told her what I'd done, she said, do you want me to take him? And I said, no, because you're going to block me. And she said, I won't block you, but the rest of the team might block you. And I said, okay. So that was case number 1. Case number 2 was a cat that was taken to a vet with cat bite abscess, not chipped, been living in an estate for about 12 months, seems to be a community cat. The lady said she was scared to put down to the vet and refused to take it back when the vet said, look, it's not serious enough to keep in the emergency centre. And so anyway, they rang me up and I said, yeah, okay, I'll sort it. So anyway, I tried to ask further information from the lady, and as a result of it, I've now got a plaint against me for being rude for asking some questions. And I wasn't rude, I was just simply asking, there was an allegation that he had attacked the lady. And I said, well, how long ago? And that was like 2 months ago. What injuries did you sustain and how long ago and all that sort of stuff. And, so then it became, okay, when you make an allegation against an animal that it's bitten you or attacked you, that's enough for a council pound to put you down, put an animal down. So, I always do my due diligence. I'm their voice. I want to find out, can I get some photos? Can I get some proof? When did this happen? Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I never got any of that information. All I got was an official complaint against me that I'm now answering for. That's fine. That big boy is now safe because Fiona, with her S for Superwoman,
Super sucker.
Super sucker, the two of us got our heads together and went, let's do it. And he was a beautiful boy.
He was
wasn't
gorgeous too.
Absolutely little smoocher. Big smoocher.
They both
Big
had
chunky.
super chunky cheeks.
He got the name of Chunk because he's like Alvin and the Chipmunks. Love it. So, you know, we work really, really hard with these. The third vet was the cat that the woman threatened to euthanize herself. So, you know, these are the type of things that we jump and rally to all the time. These are the things that we deal with behind the scenes. It's the things that I lose sleep over. Because people lie, people take the easy way out, and then people like myself and other pound managers, we lose sleep. We can't save them all, but we want to. I have gone to the doctors and said, I'm not sleeping. She's like, oh, no wonder, Dee. You work 105 to 115 hours a week. I wouldn't want your job. She's given me melatonin, doesn't work. I've tried different sleeping tablets, doesn't work because my mind is always churning. My stomach is always churning about how can I save that animal? What can I do? You know, so, and the other thing that really hurts me, is people that despise their own animals. People that want to hurt their animal, abuse their animals, neglect their animals. That hurts me. That hurts me. I think, the freaking hell do you get that animal when you just do that? There are some people that would love to have that animal in their home, but they can't afford to adopt. They can't have an animal because of their rental situation. They would love to have an animal, but they can't. They're barely able to feed themselves. And then you have other pieces of whatever you want to call them. I can't say it on camera because I'll be in trouble. And I'm already answering to one complaint. That just do that sort of stuff. They're the things that hurt me. So yeah, I sit in the shopping centre and I question myself. I question my abilities. I pray to God that a solution's going to come out before their time is up. And I push myself harder than I've ever had to push myself in a job to get to the truth to save lives. Yeah, so sometimes I just don't think. People always, you know, give me credit and say, you know, you do a great job and stuff like that. If they could only see how much it affects our mental health, our home lives. I'm always running late for dinner. I'm always running late for an appointment because I've stopped to help an animal, or I've gone to help a ranger, or I've gone to talk to an owner, or I've stopped in at a vet to talk to the vet about an animal they've got there. You know, yeah, super sucker me, but I love what I do. That's the thing. Tani, you were like very much like me. Tani and I had this conversation back in 2016, I think, wasn't it? Where both of us changed jobs a lot in our lives.
Yeah.
I was guilty of it. I get bored after it. You know, I think I had an average of about 2 years before I wanted to move on. And I think I remember having this conversation with you at Erina, and you were the same.
Yep.
And yet, I reckon this is our longest jobs.
Oh, 100%.
You know, because we've actually found something that keeps us going and keeps us fighting for somebody more than ourselves, you know. So anyway, I do worry about this place and stuff. And one of my biggest worries is also money. You know, I've got a Frenchie out there that has the worst breathing, doesn't he, Tony?
He's terrible.
He is going to need surgery. That surgery ranges in the thousands. I'm talking 8,000, 10,000. We did 2 of them at Erina. We had 2 Frenchies dumped off. Both of them were, I think, about 2 or 3 weeks apart. And it cost us nearly 20 grand to fix those dogs. And yet we all adopted out for about $1,000. And then people will yell at us and say, $1,000 is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. All the time. Mind you, they'd go to a breeder and pay like 4.5 with nothing done.
Nothing done, but we've de-sexed it, we've registered it, we've fleed and wormed it. We probably had its surgery done if it was so bad. And yes, how dare we ask for $1,000? You know, I've got a cat that came in that looked like it had trap injuries. It didn't have trap injuries. It was suffering a very, very contagious disease called cryptococcus, and I'll give Tani the photo to put into it. Its nose was all swollen. When it arrived, it was bleeding, and I said to the girls, get that cat to the vet. And it turned out that it wasn't trap injuries. It had been suffering. It was slowly having its airways close and close and close until it couldn't breathe through its nose. And so now that cat is on medication, and it's got a long journey. It's got to be on this meds for about 4 months. When we finish those meds, the cat's going to have surgery to open up those airways and clear out what's been going on in there. You know, and these are the things that happen to us all the time, you know. So please, if you guys, you know, want to join up and be a rescue warrior, we what do we have, $5 a week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it all helps, guys. Otherwise, yeah, we do our animal plight fundraisers, which you guys are amazing. You always get behind us. But yes, I worry all the time about these animals. But anyway, that's enough. Tani's probably thinking, hurry up. Anyway, guys, I'm very sorry that the week that was late for the last 2 weeks, but thank you so much for tuning.
It's been that long, you've forgotten, haven't you?
What do you mean?
Happy, sad, frustrating?
Oh, God. I forgot about that.
Yes. So won't start off with sad, we'll start off with frustrating first.
I think that frustrating is just the amount of surrender requests, and for silly reasons, actually. One of them, peeing on the rug, you know, it's little things, you know. People are so quick to give up their animals than fix the problem, you know. They just don't work with the animal to become the best it could be, you know. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect. We can't expect our animals to be perfect. But what's the solution? You get rid of that animal, you go get another one, and then that one has something you don't like, and you get rid of that animal. There are just some people that spend their whole life revolving with animals. I think that's so frustrating. So I guess that's my frustrating this week.
It's a pretty good frustrating.
I think so too.
Cool. Okay, so we always end on a happy, so we'll do the sad next.
Sad is one of Minnie's puppies. We lost Minnie's puppy last week. It was the baby runt. The staff were bottle feeding, and Don would sit in with Minnie for an hour, and she'd put the 2 baby runts. She had 2 tiny, tiny little jelly babies. And she would move the other ones out and let them have a little sleep, and she'd put the 2 runts on, and that happened multiple times during the day. And then it was getting harder, and then Don went off for her days off, and then Brioni would go in and do it, and then Brioni said, I just can't get the baby to suckle. I said, all right, let's make up the formula and start supplementing. Unfortunately, we lost the battle with that little one. It was just so tiny. We have managed to save the second runt, but the first one just deteriorated very quickly. So it's really sad because we spend countless hours trying to save these animals, and no matter how hard we try, we still lose. We still have our losses, and it hits home, you know, like sitting there at 2 o'clock in the morning bottle feeding a baby, and you know, you can't, sometimes no matter what you do, it's not enough. So it's really sad that the cycle of life just takes you down sometimes.
Fair. Okay. All right.
Ending on a happy...
Got to end on a high. We've learned our lesson.
God. I've done enough tears today. It's your fault.
Mine?
I didn't cry with Janine.
What? You can't blame me.
Yep. She was even late for work today, and she blamed her poor husband for stopping for having a coffee. And then she blamed a poor L plater.
I was blaming the L plater for doing 45 in an 80 zone.
But then she realised that if Chris hadn't have stopped for the coffee, they'd be ahead of the L plater.
Well, he mentioned that actually, so he put the blame on himself.
She's probably going to make him cry later.
And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that I make you cry and Janine doesn't. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I suppose it's probably a good thing because I've released those emotions for today.
Fair. I'll take that as a good thing. Anyway, what's your happy?
All right, adoptions and rescue saves.
Okay.
So adoptions for the last 2 weeks, and don't worry, I'm not sticking my fingers up at anybody. I'll go peace. Cha-Cha, our little dog, she's now called Gracie, got adopted. Dippet, our beautiful boy, has gone to a beautiful home, and we've had updates about Dippet. And we also had 3 cat adoptions, Pixie, Jax and Waffles. Now, Jax and Waffles went to the same household, so that's amazing. We always love it when we get pairs, especially with kittens. It's great too, because they're used to playing, and then sometimes when they get into the household, they're a little bit sad that they're the only animal. So it's always good to have like a bonded pair go. Rescues, we've had some great rescue saves. So I know some people actually asked about where Kevin and Scooby were. They actually went to Greyhound Rescue. So when I was talking about sitting in the shopping centre, panicking about what to do because I had these dogs coming out of impound this week and not being able to have a kennel space for them, I actually reached out to the amazing guys at Greyhound Rescue and down in Bargo, and I spoke to their girl over there, Christy, and I said, I need to save these animals and I can't do that because I don't have kennel space, and I'm not getting any adoption inquiries, except after they went. Then we got an adoption inquiry.
It's always how it goes.
About this long. Janine goes, you're not going to believe this. We've got an adoption inquiry for the Greys. And I went, of course, tell them where they are. So anyway, those guys came and said, yep, if we'll gladly take your 2 guys if it's going to help save another 2. So Kevin and Scooby went to Greyhound Rescue, rang them up yesterday. How's my boys going? Got a video last night, so I'll flick that through to Tani. They're loving life. They told me that they're real characters.
Yes, they are. We already knew that.
Minnie and her 8 puppies went to the wonderful Kate at Willow Tree Sanctuary. Hope, Psycho and Chunk went to the Super Sucker called 9 Lives Cat Rescue. So Hope is a joint project between their rescue and ours, because we're going to have to raise some serious money to get that nose fixed so that she has a pain-free life. So that is a joint project between us and 9 Lives Cat Rescue. So that fundraiser will go up Not anytime soon, guys, because remember she's got to be on those meds for about 4 months. So we're working on getting the swelling down and then seeing what we need to do for her. So she is a project that is 2 rescues coming together for the betterment of an animal. And in fact, that's a lot of animals that have been saved in the last 2 weeks. So counting it all up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus 8, 17, 18, 19, 20 animals in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, wow.
No wonder I'm blasted tired. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Sorry it's a long one, but it is 2 weeks in one, plus the update of Smiley Cross Happy Jack, aka Happy Jack. And that's the week that was. Thanks for tuning in. See ya.